We are loaded up and ready for the next big job. Stay tuned. We are back watching Outdoors with Craig DZ. What's happening, YouTube friends? So, tell I'm in the skid steer here. I've done a couple little kind of brush jobs, but this is really gonna put this thing to the test. Let's shut it down here quick, get it quiet. So this is the MTL, I think it's like the XC7 brush hog. Pretty sweet. So won a job, got about 65 acres to clear. So far I just came out today. And again, if you've been following along the channel, you know I got out of the dumpsters, but focusing more on the excavation piece, and this was one of the things I wanted to do. So this job, 70 acres, I mean, we'll see how it comes out. Kind of a good test going forward, because I really don't know how long it's going to take to do this job. I bid it hourly, so I can't really lose at this point unless I wreck my machine or something like that happens. But really, I figure 2 to 3 acres an hour based off of some calculations, math. How this is a 5-foot 60-inch deck. This thing can go max speed and low 4.9 miles per hour. So figuring like 4 miles per hour. Did some math, and that's about what I came out with, 2 to 3. I mean, the real light stuff up there, I mean, it was a couple 6-8 inch high. You can go full speed. You get into this thicker stuff that's waist height, 3, 4, 5 feet tall. It doesn't really bog the machine down, but you definitely need to slow down a little bit, just to make sure it cuts it right. I mean, the nice thing with this mulcher, or this mulcher, this brush hog, it can, trees, stuff like that, doesn't really phase this thing. I don't have to worry about really damaging the brush hog or the blades. This thing can cut up to like a 7-inch tree, and I've witnessed it. Like this sumac stuff would be, nothing. I probably could just wreck the rest of this tree if I wanted to, but just gonna focus on brush hogging. I'll definitely get some footage at some point. Nice thing with this job, I'm actually kind of having somebody run the skid steer for me for the rest of the week. So I brought it out today, dropped it off, kind of showed them what to do. Some cattails, some wet areas, so basically told them to stay away from that stuff because I don't want to have to rip this thing out. Towards the end, I mean, a lot of this was cattails, and I was just playing around to see how far I could go. And I mean, you can go in. There's another section farther back that, I mean, just walking in 2-3 feet, I mean, the water was up to ankle on my boot, so it definitely can get wet. So just told them basically any spot that you see the kind of the cattail, the change in the greenery, to just avoid it for now, and then at the very end, right, can kind of go around, clean up the edges, and then see, play around in those areas and see, if I get stuck, I can get it out with the excavator, but at least I'm not wasting, having it down a day because I'm not available to pull them out, type of a thing. So I figure, it's probably going to be 2-3 days of running this thing straight, 2, 3 8-hour days, 24, 30 hours total to do this. So be interesting to see, but yeah, be a nice review for this MTL brush hog, and then also see how well this SVL 65-2 does, because I mean, it's going to be running pretty much non-stop all day long, and tomorrow's supposed to be upwards of like 90 degrees, so it's going to be pretty hot. So it'll be a good test to see how it holds up, but we'll see how we do. Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. You're watching Outdoors with Craig DZ. Got some brush hogging going on today. I guess kind of an update on the job, so you can see kind of area I'm going through now. The stuff I did last week. Actually hired somebody to do a lot of this. However, we blew the hydraulic pump last Friday, so it's been just exactly a week. Yesterday it rained pretty good, so regardless of having the motor or not, wasn't able to get out here because it was just raining off and on. Kind of, we're in like a Florida weather pattern where, yeah, it's like, I think yesterday it rained in the morning, rained in the afternoon, and then rained in the evening. So just very wet. You can kind of see the property here. The section on the left is kind of like a wet area. When we get all done, at some point I might try and cut in, but I know on the other side, all the way to the left, I mean, you just walk in a foot and the water's over your boot. So, I mean, I don't know how far in this direction we can go before it gets too hot. Luckily, MTL, so that's my brush hog attachment. This is the XC7 that I have. Not really, you know, you live and you learn. Probably not made to do big fields like this, so it's about 60 acres in total. To date, right now, I think we got about 35 acres done, roughly. So we should be about halfway. The guy that I had doing some work the first 2 days, I'm not sure if he was just overly cautious. He said he could operate machinery, and I knew him from the firehouse, but he, I don't know, like topped off my hydraulic fluid, even though like I had done that before I brought the machine out. I re-greased everything, you know, checked everything before it came out, knowing I was going to be out here probably for like 3 or 4 days straight brush hogging. And then he called me because like the DEF regen light came on. He called me because at one point to bring a shovel because he had cleaned the tracks of the machine 2 or 3 times. So his first day he got like 6 acres done. This machine, doing some math, should do at least 2 acres an hour. You know, it does 4.9 miles per hour wide open. So I was figuring like 4 to be safe, and that's like 2.4. So, you know, if it bogs down a little bit here or there, or I have to slow down, it gets wet, whatever, I mean, that's still a pretty good chunk of a field that should have gotten done here. So just idle it down here. So yeah, you can see the field here. You know, I did all of this. It's gonna be a firehouse, I guess they're building, and so they want it cleared, potentially do it again in the fall. Well, more than likely do it again in the fall, and potentially again in the spring. So this job, you know, all in all, if I get all 3, you know, it's close to $10,000 in brush hogging. So give you an idea. So I mean, even paying somebody, granted it was 20 bucks an hour, and you know, I feel like probably 10 of those hours weren't really, you know, either somebody wasn't working too well, but you know, the summary of that is, so I blew the hydraulic pump. It was kind of the spindle that comes up in the middle. MTL warrantied it. They were trying to tell me it was heat damage probably, and like you can only run this machine like an hour and a half, 2 hours max without letting it, you know, cool down for a bit, which, I mean, I don't think we really did, but I didn't really have, I mean, by the time it broke, I maybe had, I don't know, 10 hours on the machine, on it. So you'll also see, if you can read that manual, let me zoom in. I mean, there is no manual that I saw, so it tells you like read the manual, but high flow is 27 gallons per minute, so we're kind of like right on that edge. But idle engine before shutting down grinder. Do not reverse hydraulic flow while operating. So I don't know if one of these guys operating for me did one of those 2 things where, you know, they shut it down 2 or 3 times and it just weakened the spindle and it eventually snapped, or you know, it's very easy to do. I've gotten in the habit, so, you know, on, spin one way, on, spin the other way. I've gotten in the habit of just killing right through the auxiliary, because I mean, obviously if you turn it on this way, it's spinning one way, and then if you go to shut it off and hit it this way, it's going to immediately snap it and try and spin the other way, which I think could have been really a possibility of what happened. So I don't know. We'll get started. It's a little wet. I'm hoping things will dry out. I got to do some estimates later this morning, afternoon, so I was hoping to get a couple hours in. Well, that's a wrap, YouTube. We are back at the shop. Got the old brush hog, MTL XC7. Did good. Got it all done. Like I said, roughly 60 acres. I mean, my original time frame, so anybody, SVL 65, 5-foot mower. And really should be the same numbers, pretty much any combination that way, but for SVL 65-2 and a 5-foot mower, you get about 2.5 acres per hour, which is what pretty much the calculator showed. But yeah, customer was happy. Probably gonna have me do it again in the fall and then in the spring, because they're building on that property, and so they really wanted it knocked down. So they're doing some like test perk holes, I think, for testing. So they wanted to be able to see instead of, trying to drive around through, 3, 4, 5-inch brush. I mean, some spots it was probably 6 or 7 feet high. I find it hard to believe those spots got done in the spring. I feel like they probably did the main section out front, and then maybe out back it was done last year. But really, pick up probably 2 more mowings, and then if you've been watching the channel, so I have the reaper attachment for the excavator, and so like some of the wet spots, especially like up front by the road frontage, he wants that done. So I said, well, give it today. It downpoured again, but I said, give it like a week or 2. Hopefully we'll get some dry weather, and if you want, I can come out with that for like the day and do in front of the road and try to get into some of those wet areas, because I'd rather get stuck with the excavator where I have a chance of basically pushing myself out. Even with that reaper attachment, the front side of it has kind of like a claw, so you can grab logs, or the back side does, so like I could put that into the ground and try and push the excavator out. Where the skid steer, I mean, I was on the edge of some of those wet areas, and my tracks were wet enough where like water was spraying off of them, and that was just kind of the outside edge where I thought I should stop. So I could only imagine going in another 5-6 feet. I mean, the tracks might be buried, and it's one of those things, you go from okay to bury the machine, is a very slippery slope, and you can do it really quick if you're not paying attention. So I just told them, I said, for me, it's not worth it. 2, in your contract, if I get stuck, like, you're gonna pay for all that time it takes me to recover the machine anyways. So I said I'd rather not get it stuck, and we'll just leave it at that. But overall, I mean, the machine did good. I saw somebody else's YouTube channel, and when I was trying to get an idea of acreage too, because like I said, my one employee just didn't really perform too well, so he's an ex-employee now. He mentioned, one guy that I saw, he upgraded to a 75. I think he does a lot of mowing, and basically just said, uphill the machine will bog down. And I mean, it does that kind of just, I bet you with the bucket, it would kind of bog down going up. So with the hydraulics and everything going, it slows down a little bit. So a 75 or 97 is probably, if you're going to be brush hogging all the time, probably the 97 is what you want, but maybe a 75 can get you by. I mean, there's only like I think it's like a 6 horsepower difference. It's not 10 between the 65 and the 75. It's only like 5 or 6. So I would maybe look at something a little bigger if you're doing it all the time. But for me, like I said, couple jobs here or there, worked out great, other than blowing the hydraulic motor the one day. But again, I wasn't running it, so just going off of hearsay, you know, and ask them like, did you do this, did you do that? No, I did, it just broke. So I mean, maybe it did. Nothing against MTL attachments, you know, I'm not blaming them. You know, for me, again, if you're watching this video, you know, let me just show you quickly in the yard. So this is an MTL grapple. That over there is the MTL stump grinder. The Harley rake isn't MTL, but I mean, that's 3 attachments right here that I have through them. So I mean, I like their products overall. Like I said, it worked good. I think I need to sharpen the blades because towards the end it didn't seem to be cutting as clean. But again, I did 60 acres with it, and I have no idea what the guys were doing before me. They could have had the blades literally in the dirt the whole, you know, for 20 hours. No idea. So I think with a little sharpening, that it'll be ready to go and continue on. I have an extra set of blades that I did buy, so in the future, if I do break a blade, lose a blade, something like that, I have spares now as well. So if you're interested, you know, check out their website. I believe it's mtlattachments.com. They're out of Georgia, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, quality products. I haven't had any issues. Very responsive for me when I've ordered anything, had any questions. So check them out if you're interested in some new attachments. You know, support local, none of this Chinese branded crap that's out there. I mean, like I said, I think their pump is an off-brand, but it's the same that Blue Diamond uses. So I mean, that's another quality brand, so I'm not too concerned. I mean, you can't, obviously not everything's American made, or at least you can't be price competitive half the time if you do. So I get it, but assembled here in the US, you know, whatever. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Be posting some more content soon. Stay tuned for more, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications to stay up to date on new videos, and I will catch you guys on the next one. See ya.